If there is one event that defines Wichita, it is Wichita Riverfest. I mean, this festival has been going on for over 50 years and is honestly the most attended thing in the city and honestly probably even the state outside of our state fair. Like getting the opportunity to be the video content lead for the festival was almost like a full circle moment. Because I remember being a kid and coming to the festival with my family, riding rides, going to the car show, and just participating in a lot of different events. Yeah, again, it's just a full circle moment, and it was really cool to kind of be brought in on this project. So going back to when it all first started, Wichita Life, Wichita by EB, and myself were talking about how can we help push events in Wichita to a more like intensive level because we've all been doing it like individually. So if you don't know, Wichita Life and Wichita by EB are two of the largest social media platforms that are kind of based around the Wichita area. I think they even extend past social media, and they both have respective email lists that are anywhere from like 25 to 50,000 subscribers on them. So like they are some heavy hitters, and so for them to sit down with me and kind of talk about like okay, like we've seen what you do with other events and the video content for them, like how can we take that and inject it into Riverfest? And then we started talking more and more about how there's so many cool creatives around the Wichita area that we want to kind of bring in and implement as well. I mean, like Jack Stacks Eats. I mean, he's a big food creator here, but he also does some family stuff. So we're like, cool. How can we integrate him into the food court? Taylor Raines, she's another like family type creator. It's like, how can we inject her into like the family fun day and create content around that? And I believe we brought in give or take 30 different influencers throughout the week and kind of injected them and allowed to like spread the Riverfest content to their followers. And I think that one thing is like just been really massive is learning how to kind of take a community festival and make it about the community. Because in years past, there's been creatives that like when they go to these events and it's all about them, and it's like no, this event is about the community, so like let's show it about the community. And so that's kind of my goal going into it was like again, it's a community event. Let's show off the people that are attending it. So we did a bunch of public interviews and stuff like that. But just kind of wrapping it all back up to like the front side of it, like when we first like were talking about this, I was getting really scared because I was like, okay, it's a 9 day event, and there's, I mean, some days were 15, 16, 17 hours to where it's like, okay, this is going to be a long, long event. Let alone, I understood that part. I didn't realize how much I'd be walking. I think within the first 3 days, I tracked like 35 miles of just walking around the downtown Wichita area. Going even further back, like when Eddie and I and Landon sat down and just kind of figured everything out, um, we kind of broke down like what's the most important things, like daily recaps, interviews with artists, interviews with the community members, and just like highlighting specific events that maybe haven't got the shine that they deserve in the past. So we put together a business plan or like a content strategy plan essentially and pitched it to the Wichita Festivals team. I think we ended up going through 2 or 3 different rounds of like just talking with them, kind of seeing where their needs are, where their wants are, and then just seeing where we can meet them in the middle. And eventually, we obviously sat down, made a deal happen, and I still was scared and was like, I really hope we can make this happen. Once we get through that, we kind of create some pre-content, kind of hyping the festival up, doing some interviews with board members, etc. And the content already started performing well. I've been tracking their analytics from the time we started to now, and like up until that point, I mean, they were already up a handful of hundreds of followers. I think we're looking at like 300 or 400 up at that point. And to date, we're kind of waiting to get hard numbers, so I could probably make a follow up video, kind of breaking down a whole case study of like their numbers. But I mean, to date, we're already looking up words to I want to say over 1,000 new followers within like a week's span, which is a lot, but isn't a lot in the same light. I definitely want to figure out like how we can push that call to action a lot more next year. But moving into like day one of Riverfest. So the first day on site was again surreal. This wasn't just another event. Riverfest is one of the biggest stages in Kansas, and everyone on the Riverfest team made us feel accepted. The red shirts. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Riverfest and kind of their breakdown, but the red shirts are community members that are just strictly volunteering their time. They're out there busting their backs for I think 12 or 13 days, like getting the site ready, making sure everything's running smoothly, moving barricades, making sure all the events are on time. Like they are some hard working mamma jammas. And we get in there day one, we sit down with them and just kind of figure out like what do they do. Eddie actually went and shadowed them and did a whole like news story about them or blog post about them, and it was honestly really cool to kind of like watch him go through that process. Once we wrapped up the second day, we were there with Flow Rida. I went and did some Rave at Wave content where they had a rave at the Wave venue in association with Riverfest. It was just a jam-packed day, and I get back to the house and I'm just looking in the mirror. I'm exhausted, and it just hit me like this is the kind of work that I've always dreamed of doing. Like impactful community content to push companies and brands further. And I'm doing it. Like this isn't just, oh, what's your video gig doing? Are you still doing video? Like no, I was in the mix creating high level content at a very fast turnaround. So, and honestly, like I wouldn't have been ready for this 4 or 5 years ago. Shooting smaller scale events taught me how to stay organized, how to interact with people on the fly, and how to edit fast and clean. I mean, think about it like the gym. Like you have to get your reps in. And I mean, shout out to Nana from Festive ICT for really like working with me and helping me learn, okay, like this is how we need to be doing event content because like that and our weddings like really help kind of shape like how I do content nowadays because it's I mean it has to be next day turns because I mean the hype of an event doesn't last more than probably 2 days after, so it's like you really want to make sure that like we're getting that content out there, and with a 9 day festival that wants daily recaps it got pretty tricky. But kind of going back to like the start of this, like and how we prepped to do this was insane. Me, Eddie, and Landon made up a couple Google sheets and just wrote out like every single event, who's covering it, and it was kind of funny because I mean, we're talking about who's covering the event, and Eddie and Landon are like, "Oh, I want this one or that one," and then I'm sitting here like, "I'm gonna try to be at every single event." We're doing mass coverage, we're doing daily recaps, so I gotta show what happens throughout the day. So we kind of left it to where they were focused on doing the like specific event highlights, and then I was just doing general recap of every single thing. So it was a cool way to kind of break it down, and then I just kind of kept giggling to myself because I was like, I really have to be there all day, every day, and like once that sat in, I was like, cool. Like once we get into more events throughout the season, like they're not going to be nothing to me because doing over 100 hours in 9 days. So most days I'd show up probably 2 to 3 hours before the first event actually started. And this was to knock out like the quick turn content, the daily recaps, and just to kind of like get my bearings ready for the day. Make sure the batteries are charged, cards are dumped, etc. And again, if I wouldn't have done all these different events in the past, like I wouldn't know like how to do all of this that effectively and that quickly. Thinking back on it, one of the events that stuck with me the most was the children's entrepreneurship market. I I didn't really know what to expect when we got into it and going around talking to people, and then these kids were talking to me about these wooden swords that they had, and like the it's 9 ply balsa wood, and they use a CNC machine, all this other stuff, and I'm realizing like these kids are all probably under the age of 9, kind of talking to me about this stuff, and it just hit me like no, these kids are onto something. Like the way that they were talking, and it was just so professional. They were very like serious about what they're doing, and it kind of reminded me of myself when I was about 13 or 14, working with the Call of Duty teams. Like they didn't realize I was that young, but I was doing their graphics and editing videos and all this other stuff. But I was just purely passionate about this stuff, and it just kind of like made me think back about like when I was younger and like kind of like what led me to where I am now. And like looking back at it, Riverfest just wasn't another job. It was proof that with consistency, collaboration, and real preparation, that your work can scale up to the moment and when the moment comes, you will be ready. Like that's one thing that I learned. Like I mean, I'm still just kind of baffled that we actually pulled it off. Um, like I've always known that we could handle stuff like that, or that I could personally handle stuff like that, but was never really given the opportunity to. Like Taco Fest was always like my pinnacle event every single year. I mean, it's like a 14-hour day in the heat, filming tacos and lucha libre performances and everything. But that first day I stepped on the footprint at Riverfest, I was like, here we go. Like I got 9 Taco Fests in a row, and yeah, no, it was honestly super cool. Shout out to everyone that I met through the Wichita Festivals team and the red shirts. Like y'all were amazing. Yeah, no, it was such a good time. And yeah, if there's any more information that you guys are interested in and are looking to become an event videographer, let me know. Always down to sit and talk with people and kind of explain like how I got into this and how like you can grow as a videographer. So catch y'all.